Give me the loot. The video is not about this. What's up, Veronica? What's up? What's up, Veronica? Who's Karen? What's his name? Maya, Karen. They are new. New peoples. Yeah, this is crazy. Okay, gotta put that. This mood, removed. Yeah, I gotta put it here. And this one here. See what they say. Yeah. Yeah, man. The new Jordans. Sold out quickly this morning for 215. Lines were wrapped up around the corner, and a few scuffles took place. The shoes are fire though.
The shoes are fire, but to have a whole fight right and to be sold out for that
215 is also nothing.
Well, it is
215 for those
it's
Jordans.
a lot of money, bro.
For those Jordans,
It's okay. It's
you know what I'm saying. I'm like,
understandable.
shit.
No,
They're gonna be expensive. They're gonna be. People's gonna sell them for even more. That's what you
Yeah. What's up? What's up, Sia? How you doing?
Smart business.
Hello, my pikin no notebook. Eh? Yes, sir. Na 200 naira. Pikin no dey let me sleep. My pikin no dey let me arrange the parlor. My pikin no notebook. Eh? Yes, sir. Na 200 naira. Yes. And they tell am for plenty people. Then they confirm the work when they do. I fit test am. Yes, of course. Why not? Pikin no dey test am.
I'm doing fine. I was just watching some videos.
Stop! I won't buy that. Now make you go call the test for my body. Okay. I don't sell again. They go. No. I don't know not be for sale. I want just keep my hair and make my shop dey fine. Wait it.
Okay.
You just go market wrong person. Pikin no dey let me sleep. My pikin no dey let me arrange the parlor. My pikin.
It's an oil painting, but I think he did.
Good morning. I'm here in front of you because I'm not in the back. I'm standing here because I'm not sitting. Before I start my speech, I like to finish it. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, I'm here in front.
This is the definition of logic. I'm standing here because clearly.
Give me your money.
Oh, calm down, bro.
You calm down. Just hurry up.
Are you a black guy?
Are you serious? What? Just because I'm robbing you mean I'm black?
Well, I mean,
why would you think that?
I don't know, maybe because you were robbing me and you're black?
How you know I wasn't a white guy?
Because, bro, you talk black.
Excuse me? Talk black?
Sorry, I mean, talk African American.
I didn't know black was a language.
Look, man, I didn't mean to offend you, okay? I was nervous.
How would you feel if I just assumed you was a gardener?
I am a gardener.
How would you feel if I assumed you was in a mariachi band?
I'd be fine with it. I love mariachi.
How would you feel if I assumed you was illegal?
Oh, okay. Calm down. That's too far. Who you been talking to?
Doesn't feel too good, does it?
Okay, well, how would you feel if I assumed you need to pay child support?
How would you feel if I assumed all you did was get drunk and watch soccer?
How would you feel if I assumed you only eat chicken and watermelon?
How would you feel if I assumed you only eat tacos and fajitas?
Well, how would you... Damn, I could really go for a taco right now, actually.
Hey, actually, I could do the same.
There's actually an amazing taco truck down the street.
Oh, really? I gotta check that out.
You probably won't like it, though, because they don't have grape soda.
That's a fact.
God had a thought. That's my theory.
It's there before the Big Bang. It's believed that there was an initial singularity before anything else. This is a gravitational singularity predicted by general relativity to have existed before the Big Bang and thought to have contained all the energy and space-time of the universe. The initial singularity possessed seemingly infinite density, thought to have contained all of the mass and space-time of the universe before quantum fluctuations caused it to rapidly expand in the Big Bang and subsequent inflation, creating the present-day universe. Number 9. What happens when you fall into a black hole?
Oh my God, that's a good question, bro.
That's not really.
Being one of the most intriguing astronomical objects in the universe, it's no surprise that some people have wondered.
I cannot wait till we get to the point to when I don't know Elon Musk gonna do or NASA or whatever, to when we can put a camera in there and let's see what happens.
You know,
y'all say Delph simple, but how do you really know?
Countless times, what would happen if you fell into one? To fully appreciate what's a black hole, we need to first understand the properties of one. A black hole is a place where gravity is so strong that nothing else can escape. Black holes are named as such because they can't reflect nor emit light, and they're only visible when they're feeding on other stars or gas clouds that come too close to their event horizons, their main boundary. Beyond the event horizon lies a truly minuscule point called a singularity, where gravity is so intense that it infinitely curves space-time itself. This is where the laws of physics, as we know them, break down, meaning all theories of what lies beyond are just speculation.
How do you know?
Free floating in space near a stellar mass.
Y'all are so stuck with this BS. Think, oh, we're gonna turn to spaghetti. Oh, you're gonna just stretch all over. How do you know? We never tested it. How do you know?
We're not in the black.
How do you know black hole with the short? How do you know? Have we ever put a camera in there? Have we tested that theory?
Try.
Exactly, it's stubborn.
That's black hole that wasn't feeding on anything. Your only hint that it exists.
So just because light can't go through it, that means it's death? Then you're saying everything else is around us in life. Since God is light. So what if in your theory, so you try to say in a way that black holes are just demonic? Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on.
Might be the gravitational magnification or lensing effect it would have on background stars. But as you flew closer to this strange spot, you'd be stretched in some directions and squished in others, a process that scientists call spaghettification.
I don't believe
this is because the black hole's gravity compresses your body horizontally while pulling it like taffy in the vertical direction. If you jumped into the black hole feet first, the gravitational force on your toes would be much stronger than that pulling on your head. Meanwhile, if you were to plunge into a supermassive black hole, things would be considerably less scary. While it might still result in a horrible death, you might make it all the way through the event horizon and manage to start falling inside the singularity while you're still alive. You'll die either way, but at least things here will be a little less painful. Number 8. The Earth will become like Venus. Both Earth and Venus are very similar planets. They have very similar size, mass, and composition, though their main difference is that Earth sustains life, and Venus is essentially a galactic wasteland because it's mostly composed of carbon dioxide. However, climate change isn't the only thing that might affect Earth becoming like Venus. As the Sun becomes 10% hotter around 1 billion years from now, the surface temperature of Earth will reach 47 degrees Celsius, prompting the temperature of Earth to increase rapidly and its oceans to boil away until it becomes a greenhouse planet. A greenhouse planet like Venus isn't exactly the nicest place to live in the universe. Venus's atmosphere is almost entirely carbon dioxide and chokingly thick, with an atmospheric pressure at the surface 90 times that of Earth. That's the equivalent pressure of a mile beneath our ocean waves. It's so thick that you almost have to swim through it just to move around. And on top of this are clouds that are literally made of sulfuric acid.
You gotta swim through
Number 7.
air.
White holes. We all know about the existence of black holes, but did you know that their distant cousins, the white hole, also exist? And if you think black holes are weird, white holes will literally blow you away. Instead of absorbing matter, white holes spew it out. To a spaceship crew watching from afar, a white hole looks exactly like a black hole. It has mass, it might spin. A ring of dust and gas could gather around the event horizon. But instead of absorbing things, they're belching matter out. Physicists describe a white hole as a black hole's time reversal. A video of a black hole played backwards, much as a bouncing ball is the time reversal of a falling ball. While a black hole's event horizon is a sphere of no return, a white hole's event horizon is a boundary of no admission, space-time's most exclusive club. Number 6. Big Rip. All good things must come to an end, and it seems like the universe is one of these. This is something established by the Big Rip, in which scientists have theorized that the universe could end up expanding so much that it will eventually rip itself to pieces. Solar systems, planets, asteroid belts, and even whole galaxies will be torn apart. Of course, that's something that will happen several million years from now, so it's not like we're going to be here when it does. But when it does, you can bet that things will not be pretty for humans. Number 5. The Drake Equation. The Drake Equation is a formula that's been used to estimate the number of active extraterrestrial civilizations in the Milky Way galaxy. How many alien societies exist and are detectable? This famous formula gives us an idea. The Drake Equation, which was the agenda for a meeting of experts held in West Virginia in 1961, estimates N, the number of transmitting societies in the Milky Way galaxy. The terms are defined as follows. N, the number of civilizations in the Milky Way galaxy whose electromagnetic emissions are detectable. R, the rate of formation of stars suitable for the development of intelligent life, number per year. F sub p, the fraction of those stars with planetary systems. N sub e, the number of planets per solar system with an environment suitable for life. F sub l, the fraction of suitable planets on which life actually appears. F sub I, the fraction of life-bearing planets on which intelligent life emerges. F sub c, the fraction of civilizations that develop a technology that produces detectable signs of their existence. And L, the average length of time such civilizations produce such signs in years. Number 4. Time is running out. Some scientists theorize that distant celestial bodies only seem the way they look because we're actually looking back in time to see them. That means that celestial bodies were moving faster in the past than they are now because time is slowing down. Even if we don't know how much it's slowing down, we know that it might slow down to a stop if things are left as they are. Number 3. Hitler's opening speech. Did you know that the first signal broadcast strong enough to pierce through Earth's atmosphere was Hitler's opening speech at the 1936 Olympics in Berlin? That means that should aliens find Earth, that's probably one of the first things they'll mention to us when we communicate with them.
Oh, we doomed. They hear that.
The first thing loudest to hear is actually that nigga.
That's the first thing they heard.
There we go again.
I'm telling you, boy.
It's probably the first sound they heard from humans. Number 2. The Fermi Paradox. The Fermi Paradox, named after Enrico Fermi, establishes that there's a contradiction between the lack of evidence for extraterrestrial civilization and various high estimates for their probability, such as the Drake equation that we just saw. Alien life has to simply exist in one form or another, but if that's the case, then where are the aliens? The Fermi Paradox establishes that it's much harder for life to exist than we originally thought,
thanks so much
or
for the
that
10
more life has actually existed and been destroyed over time. And number 1, the universe is a computer simulation. If you've watched The Matrix, then put your tinfoil hats on, because the universe might just be like the movie depicts it. The simulation hypothesis, or simulation theory, is the proposal that all of the...
bro, it's so hard to... Man, it's so hard to knock this simulation theory, bro. I've sat there countless nights. It's hard, yo. The only thing that really can unglue you is the Bible. Bro, it is hard, y'all. Man.
Reality, including the Earth and the rest of the universe, could in fact be an artificial simulation, such as a computer simulation.
And we get to the point to where, y'all ever play like, oh God, where did we begin with the simulation theory, bro?
Nah, there again with the simulation theory.
Bro, it's possible. I can't say it's not possible, because it's possible. Bro, how do people in Grand Theft Auto or artificial... Have y'all ever played, like, Red Dead Redemption, whatever that game is? I watched it, bro. It's so good. What if they have artificial intelligence in the game? What's keeping it from saying, okay, they are real?
Yeah, true,
Because they've been coded to think they are real. Man, look, bro, I don't want to get too deep in this, bro. I get it.
Moderator Neil deGrasse Tyson, director of the museum's Hayden Planetarium...
Who said we not programmed? Come on, man. Like, bro.
Put the odds at 50-50 that our entire existence is a program on someone else's hard drive. He noted the gap between human...
Someone say your truth is not right.
Bro. Ape smoking a cigarette? Chat, bro.
It's just an excursion.
Yo.
Yeah, I haven't been there yet. You know?
I can't. Bro, what? I seen a mathematician break down our DNA into mathematical equations. Like, it was just like, it was this number that kept, but what is, hey, that boy stressed out after turning this up, huh? Let me stop, man. I'm going ahead and keep going, bro. You ain't ready for this conversation. Hey, that boy is stressed.
And chimpanzee intelligence, despite the fact that we share more than 98% of our DNA. Somewhere out there could be a being whose intelligence is that much greater than our own. The main argument for this theory is based on the universe's laws. As the more scientists learn about the universe, the more they realize that it's very similar to a computer simulation. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a like.
What if aliens have human faces so you don't know that aliens are not... Bro, that's too many theories, bro. Too many, bro. Thank you for watching the video here, bro. That just... Sheesh.
This is Kensington, Philadelphia, America's largest...
Start out sounding like a pretty straightforward story about police trying to solve a murder. But when you get to the end of this video and you hear the big plot twist, you'll see that nothing in the story is what it seems. But before we get into that story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place, because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So if that's of interest to you, please sneak into the like button's house and replace all their family photos with pictures of the dislike button. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's story.
Today's story. Just because of that.
On the morning of August 30th, 2001, a middle-aged police sergeant named Alan McGregor drove with his partner, Officer Mark David, towards the Huron National Forest, which is a massive nature preserve in northern Michigan. The two of them were on the way to this forest to meet with a very unlikely detective, who McGregor believed might actually be the key to solving a case that had haunted him for the last 21 years. And that case was the disappearance of Cherita Thomas. Back in 1980, Cherita Thomas had been walking down the road, located about 1 mile away from the police station where Sergeant McGregor worked, when she had gotten into the car with this older man who had come by to pick her up. And after getting in this car, she was never seen again. Based on various tips and clues, police were nearly certain that that older man who had picked Cherita up was a guy named Jimmy Nelson. And their theory was he had murdered Cherita shortly after picking her up, and then afterwards disposed of her body in a particular section of the Huron National Forest. But the problem was, the police did not have any actual evidence that supported this theory. Their case against Jimmy was entirely circumstantial. In fact, they didn't even know if Cherita had really been murdered, because for the last 20 plus years, they had searched that particular section of the Huron National Forest, they'd gotten the FBI involved, they had chased down every lead, yet still, they had not found Cherita's body. So they really didn't know what happened. But as Sergeant McGregor neared the forest, he hoped that today would be the day that all changed. He pulled up by the entrance of the Huron National Forest, and he and his partner got their first look at their unlikely detective they were here to meet. And this detective was a Doberman Pinscher mix with big floppy ears who was lying on the ground and panting and wagging his tail. His name was Eagle, and he didn't look like a stereotypical police dog, because he wasn't a police dog. However, Eagle was the best crime scene sniffing dog in the entire world. His trainer, a 40-year-old woman named Sandra Anderson, was standing right beside him. Now, Sandra and Eagle were very famous in law enforcement circles, and so Sergeant McGregor and his partner were already well aware of their backstory. Sandra had actually adopted Eagle from a pound shortly before he likely would have been euthanized. And then after she adopted him, Sandra, who had made a career in teaching dogs how to sniff for cadavers, just sort of naturally on her off time, began training Eagle how to do it too. And amazingly, Eagle really took to it, better than police dogs did. Now, any good police cadaver dog could sniff out hidden objects and track a scent for miles, and Eagle could definitely do that. But also, Eagle could do things that the police cadaver dogs simply could not. Like, he could smell blood that had been cleaned with bleach and also painted over. I mean, that's like a superpower. No dog could do that, but Eagle could. One forensic anthropologist who had come in contact with Eagle and seen what he could do firsthand said that, if a great cadaver dog was rated a 10 out of 10, well, Eagle was like a 20 out of 10. He was far and away the best of the best. And so, Sergeant McGregor believed that if Cherita's body really was in that section of the Huron National Forest, well, Eagle would be able to find it. Sergeant McGregor was excited to see Eagle in action. But after he and his partner parked, they walked over and spent a minute, petting Eagle because Sandra said it was fine, and they gave him some pets, and Eagle really liked it, and he sort of rubbed up against them. But then at some point, Eagle just kind of stopped and looked towards the entrance of the National Forest, like he was ready to go. At which point Sandra said, okay, he's ready to work. So Sergeant McGregor and his partner followed behind Sandra and Eagle as they led the way into the forest towards the section where they had been told to search. And then once they reached that section, McGregor and his partner kind of stayed back on the fringes and just watched Eagle work. And it was incredible. Now, McGregor and his partner had seen police dogs work before, so they were familiar with basically the pace at which these dogs would find something, which often, it would take some time. But basically, as soon as they got to this clearing, they're watching Eagle, and he's sort of walking around, sniffing, looking for something. But then suddenly he stopped, turned, and made a beeline towards this tree. And when he got there, he began pawing at the ground like he had found something. Sandra, his trainer, kneeled down next to him to see what Eagle had found, and she saw as he continued to dig that there was something in the ground. And so she called out to McGregor and his partner, and they came rushing over, and sure enough, Eagle had found a human bone fragment. To be clear, this dog only finds human bones, and so it's not like it would be able to find a chicken bone and think it was a human bone. Basically, if it found a bone, it's a human bone. McGregor and his partner were totally shocked here. I mean, they had really high hopes for the search, but to already be finding human remains in this particular section of the forest was revelatory. I mean, not only was it a big deal to find human remains here, but these could be Chiritas. This could be the key to unlocking this 2 decades old case. But Sandra, Eagle's trainer, did not seem shocked at all. This was pretty much par for the course. She smiled at the 2 investigators and kind of shrugged like, yep, this is what he does. She gave him a treat, and then Eagle got up and just continued searching the area. Thank you to my sponsor, Happy Face, on Paramount Plus. Growing up, Melissa had what looked like the perfect life, a loving family and great friends. Until the day it all came crashing down, when she discovered her father's dark secret. He was the notorious Happy Face killer. Paramount Plus presents the thrilling new original series, Happy Face, inspired by a true life story. After years without contact, Melissa's father reaches out to confess to another murder. However, there's a twist. Another man is already on death row for that crime. Now, Melissa must choose between keeping her secret and protecting her perfect life, or unraveling an unsolved mystery to save an innocent man, and decide how far she'll go to uncover the truth. Annalee Ashford and Dennis Quaid star in Happy Face. New series now streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus. After Sandra and Eagle had taken off, McGregor and his partner bagged the bone fragment and then just kind of continued to let Eagle do his work. And over the course of that day, Eagle just kept on finding more human bones. It was truly incredible. And then the next day, when they came back for a second search, Eagle found even more. It was like there were human bones all over the place. However, this was actually kind of typical for human remains that have been left out in the wild for a long time, like they believe Chiritas had been. The idea is, after the body is left there and decomposes, animals come along and break apart the bones and kind of carry them in different directions. There's weather, there's a bunch of things that affect the body that sort of gradually takes it and spreads it all over the place. But as alarming as it was to find this many human bone fragments in such a small area in this forest, at the end of that second search on the second day, McGregor, all he could feel was elation. He felt like Eagle had done the exact thing he was hoping he would do. He had found the remains that very likely were Chirita Thomas's. McGregor thanks Sandra and Eagle profusely for their help, and then after saying bye to them, he and his partner went back to the station, and they sent off the bone fragments to the FBI to be analyzed. And then after sending them off, they waited. The analysis would take several months, but in February of 2002, the FBI finally called McGregor. Now at this point, McGregor was very hopeful and sort of expected that these bone fragments would belong to Chirita, but what they actually said shocked him, because according to the FBI, those bone fragments that Eagle had dug up did not belong to Chirita. In fact, the bone fragments didn't even belong to a single person. They belonged to 3 different people. And when McGregor heard this, his blood ran cold, because he wasn't thinking, oh boy, this totally blows up the case. Instead, he's thinking, I bet Chirita is out in that forest. We just haven't found her yet, and if we keep using Eagle, we will find her. But now I have at least 3 more people that have been found out there, 3 dead people. So maybe Jimmy is way worse than I thought he was. Maybe he didn't just kill Chirita. Maybe he's a serial killer and he's dumping his bodies in that part of the forest. However, as explosive as this new information was, it only made things way more complicated for McGregor, because he and his partner and all of his colleagues had no idea who these 3 new bodies were. And neither did the FBI. The FBI could only determine that these bone fragments came from 3 different people, but who they were, they didn't know. And so, to try to figure out who these 3 people were, Sergeant McGregor would need to find more clues. And to find more clues, he needed Eagle to go back to the forest and keep on looking. And so he immediately reached out to Sandra, who said that she and Eagle would come back out there and search the forest again. The new search began on April 17th, 2002. McGregor, his partner, Sandra, Eagle, and a whole bunch of police officers and crime lab technicians descended once again on that same section of the Huron National Forest. But after a kind of lengthy search that day, the police officers, the entire police force that showed up, they didn't find anything of note. But Eagle, he did. At some point, Eagle had sniffed out a human knuckle bone in a dried out stream bed. When this discovery was made, Officer McGregor was elated because it was like, once again, we are finding evidence that's going to help him break this case he has been trying to crack for 20 years, which now might actually be way bigger than he thought it was. It might not just be the murder of Cherita. This might be the hunting grounds or the dumping grounds of a serial killer who killed Cherita Thomas. And he, McGregor, was going to be the one who solved it. He just knew it. But when McGregor turned back around to continue searching in the area that he was looking, he suddenly heard this commotion coming from behind him, sort of in the same direction where that human knuckle bone had been found. And he turns around and he sees what looks to be some sort of physical altercation happening amongst two people. He can't really tell who it is, but there's screaming happening. It's total chaos. And so, having no idea what was going on, McGregor abandoned his search, turned, and ran to go break it up. And after this fight was broken up, another major discovery was made. But it was not another bone. It would turn out the person who was dumping bodies in this section of the Huron National Forest was not a serial killer, nor was it Jimmy Nelson. Instead, the real culprit was actually one of the investigators who was out here doing this search right now. Eagle was not the world's greatest cadaver-sniffing dog. In fact, Eagle was not even a cadaver-sniffing dog at all. And his trainer, Sandra, was well aware of that, because this was all a big act. It would turn out, when Sandra and her dog were called out to a site to perform a search, Sandra would show up with a stash of human bones tucked into her clothing, right up against her skin. And then once the search began, she would discreetly pull little bone fragments out and drop them on the ground in front of Eagle, who would immediately notice them and alert people to them, making it seem like Sandra and her dog had once again saved the day. Sandra did this dozens of times across dozens of searches all over the country, all because she loved the thrill of watching the police discover her crimes in real time. Sandra had been successfully searching for body parts that she herself had planted for years without anybody being remotely suspicious of her. However, during the search for Cherita Thomas, Sandra got caught. Right before that fight broke out on that last search, Sandra and her dog had stepped off to the side and believed nobody was watching them, and Sandra bent down and pulled a bone fragment out of her sock and was about to place it, but then realized a crime lab technician was clearly watching her. She had been caught. And so the crime lab technician went up to Sandra to call her out on it, and Sandra, who knew she was caught, began to panic and pretended that she was being attacked by the crime lab technician and made a whole scene about it. That's what McGregor heard when he turned around and wondered if there was a fight going on. There was no fight. It was just Sandra, again, being caught red-handed. But, as awful as Sandra's actions sound, she didn't actually kill anyone. Instead, during her years-long run of fraudulent searching, she had been stealing pieces of medical center cadavers and using those. Sandra ultimately pleaded guilty to multiple felonies, including falsifying evidence and obstruction of justice, and so she was sentenced to 21 months in prison. After she was caught, the FBI had to go back and reevaluate 50 murder cases that Sandra and Eagle had been involved in. Luckily, though, during this examination, they discovered that in all of these cases, they did not hinge on evidence that Sandra had found, and so there were no convictions that were overturned. As for Jimmy Nelson, he was eventually convicted of Cherita's murder. However, his conviction was overturned. But it had nothing to do with Sandra and Eagle. The evidence used to overturn it was completely separate. And so to this day, we still don't know what happened to Cherita, and her body has still not been found. As for Eagle, nobody was mad at him, and he retired from working crime scenes and got as many treats as he wanted until he passed away peacefully in 2003.
That's sad, man. They're using an actual dog.
Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of today's episode in the comments. And remember, we have hundreds of videos for you to binge right now. But if you're looking for a recommendation from me of that one video that's worth your time, well, it's this one right here. So give it a watch. All right, until next time, see ya.
Hello, wonderful person, this is Anton, and today we're going to discuss a somewhat intriguing and somewhat unusual experiment. An experiment involving mice that were genetically modified to have one single gene to be exactly the same as the one inside humans. And this produced results scientists are still trying to understand. And here this gene that generates a protein known as NOVA1 may potentially explain why humans can communicate the way we communicate, and might have created our ability to produce complex ideas and to verbalize a lot of our thoughts. And so let's talk about this somewhat unusual but somewhat exciting experiment in a little bit more detail and talk about some of the potential ramifications. Now, as always, you can find the study itself in the description below, and here the study by Yoko Tajima basically focused on a somewhat unknown protein known as NOVA1. It's a protein that binds to RNA molecules encoded by the NOVA1 gene, and in essence sort of looks like this. And though like many other genes and many other proteins, it seems to be responsible for a lot of different functions, inside the brain it seems to be responsible for neural development. As a matter of fact, all the previous studies about this gene were mostly studying this gene because it seems to be associated with a lot of different brain disorders, specifically when it has some kind of a problem. But by itself, this NOVA1 gene is also known as master gene regulator. You can essentially think of it as a kind of a master switch, and so any problem with the NOVA gene results in some serious issues. You can actually learn about this gene and its functions from one of the studies from 2014 that you can find in the description. But surprisingly, it does seem to affect at least 90% of all human genes in some way or another. But most of the interest in the last few years was really in regards to its effects on the brain, because scientists discovered that when it creates this NOVA1 protein, this can then rearrange sections of RNA inside neurons, making them form in a very different way, making them create certain structures and develop in certain ways. Here's another study from just 2 years ago that essentially discovers that it seems to regulate very specific activity inside hypothalamus, with any change to this protein affecting our brain and hypothalamus in somewhat serious ways. And so the overall conclusion from many of these studies is basically that this unusual gene changes how our brain cells seem to synthesize proteins, and thus changes how our neurons develop. And one of the main conclusions here is that it seems to dramatically increase molecular diversity inside neurons. And naturally, because this gene is so important, it does not just exist in humans. As a matter of fact, it looks like most mammals, or possibly even all mammals, seem to contain NOVA1 inside their genes. And obviously, because this is a master gene, this should not come as a surprise. It would explain why so many mammals develop in very similar ways, and even have somewhat similar brain structures. Except that there's a very small side note here. Of all of the mammals in nature, looks like human NOVA1 gene has one tiny difference. It literally has a single amino acid that's different in human version compared to other mammals. Here, inside the position 197, the isoleucine amino acid has now been changed to valine, which, though might not be a big deal, completely changes the protein in humans compared to other mammals, at least in terms of its structure. And because of this bizarre difference, for many years now, some researchers speculated that maybe this is actually something that makes us very different, and specifically, maybe this is something that gave us speech. So for the past few years, NOVA1 has actually been the so-called language gene contender, because only humans seem to have this specific form. But this was somewhat debatable because previously, in a lot of different studies, a slightly different gene was a better contender. A gene you see right here known as FOXP2, or fork hat box protein P2. A gene expressed inside the brain, the heart, the lungs, and the digestive system that also exists in a lot of different vertebrates. And intriguingly, one of the experiments back in the days revealed that when this gene is introduced into mice, they actually start to speak differently, or technically squeak differently. This was reported back in 2009, and here the human version of this gene made the mice produce slightly different sounds. Although here it also produced some additional bizarre behaviors. For example, the mice were not as curious anymore, and did not feel as much joy because for some reason their brain was not producing as much dopamine. Nevertheless, this experiment and this study was actually exciting just because this was achieved, and because it was now possible to test other genes just to see if we can discover this language gene and communication gene that in essence makes us human. Although when it comes to this FOXP2 gene, based on the analysis of Neanderthals and Denisovans, or essentially our cousins from back in the days, they also seem to have this gene as well, and it was very similar to the one in humans, which back in the days implied that maybe Neanderthals could also speak like humans. And one of the reasons scientists actually thought that FOXP2 was a language gene was because of the disorders associated with the problems inside this gene. Anyone that has a mutation in this gene very often has a lot of speech defects and is unable to move their lips and their mouth in order to produce any speech. Likewise, compared to other mammals, the human FOXP2 gene is just a little bit different, but is exactly the same as the one inside Neanderthals. And so this was thought to be the origin of human language. But naturally, this was just the beginning, and obviously scientists wanted to keep looking just to see if we can find other contenders or discover something else. And so 16 years later, we get a new study. A very similar experiment, but an even more exciting discovery. Because in this case, this NOVA1 gene is definitely unique to humans. Neanderthals and Denisovans did not have the same gene either, and it seems to be one of the few genes that pretty much all humans contain. Now here I'm saying almost, because there is a very bizarre discovery. Researchers were able to collect anonymous DNA sequences from approximately 650,000 humans and discovered this gene in almost everybody except for 6 people. Now because these were anonymous, we have no idea who they are, but for some reason, out of 650,000 people, 6 contain a different variant. Obviously there's no explanation why and why they have this mutation, but it would be interesting to find out if this produced any kind of a problem with their speech. But based on the genetic analysis, we know that this gene is relatively new in terms of evolutionary times. Since Neanderthals and Denisovans did not have this gene, it must have evolved after the species split. And based on a thorough genetic analysis, scientists believe that it must have formed only a few 100,000 years ago, possibly even less. And so because of the novelty of this gene, it was obviously somewhat intriguing to discover what effect this has on humans and what effect it might have on these mice. And that's because mice, despite containing a similar gene, do not contain the same gene. This is really uniquely human. And to test this, scientists created genetic mutations that made these genes exactly the same as human genes, and then conducted 2 separate experiments, one involving pups and one involving grown-up mice. And even as pups, these mice were already doing something different. Compared to a regular pup, these genetically modified pups were producing frequencies that were much higher. Basically ultrasonic squeaks, but in much higher frequencies than usual. And for some unknown reasons, despite a lot of screaming, their moms seem to ignore them. Normally, when pups produce ultrasound squeaks, their moms come right away. But here, even at young age, these pups were already producing different sounds, and thus communicating a little bit differently. But a much more intriguing discovery came from the mice that were already older. So basically, once these pups grew up and became older, they then went on their first date, or technically had their first courting experience. And surprisingly here, during courtship, these genetically modified mice were producing calls that were very different from a regular mouse. And though the frequency was exactly the same, the actual amount of squeaks was extremely different and much more complex. In other words, they were actually making sounds that were way more complex in terms of syllables, with the overall communication being longer and more diverse. In other words, I guess in human terms, their pickup lines were very elaborate.
What do I do, go? I've scared you. I've said too much. I'm hopeless and awkward and desperate for love.
And this is a really bizarre discovery. It really confirms that the mutation in this NOVA1 gene is potentially responsible for our ability to communicate with so much complexity and our ability to express so many complex thoughts in so many different ways. And because here this gene could also be tracked inside the brain of the mouse, it definitively confirmed dramatic changes in a lot of different sections, especially the ones responsible for communication. And this was a direct and definitive confirmation that NOVA1 protein seems to dramatically change vocalization patterns and may indeed be the human language gene, a human-specific gene that literally built our culture. And these bizarre vocalization patterns that were detected in these mice, though preliminary, still seems to suggest that even in these mice the communication became way more complex and much more elaborate. But unfortunately it seems to have failed to impress other mice. In other words, just having this one mutation would obviously not suddenly turn them human. And since the brain analysis confirms that there's a change in the vocal behavior area, Right now, there is little to doubt that Nova 1 was indeed responsible. But in humans, it obviously does so many other things. For example, we know that it also affects learning. And problems with Nova 1 have been correlated with various learning disabilities. And that's on top of approximately 90 other things it seems to be responsible for. And so basically here, it might not be just a language gene, it might be a gene responsible for a lot of other things that make us human. And something that very likely evolved in early humans and eventually became dominant because it very likely provided a lot of advantage. Advantage in communication, but also possibly things like learning and even understanding the environment. But because this is just the first of such studies, we still have no idea exactly what it does or what other effects it might have inside these mice that were now basically humanized, as the researchers refer to it in the study. And so I'm actually kind of excited to see other studies of these humanized mice, because here this discovery might finally show us the actual genetic mutations that transformed earlier hominids into humans that we are today. And so this is something we'll come back and talk more about in some of the future studies. Until then, check out some of the previous videos on a very similar topic in the description below. Thank you for watching, subscribe, share this with someone who loves about space and sciences, come back tomorrow to learn something else, support the channel on Patreon by joining channel membership or by buying the wonderful person t-shirt you can find in the description. Be wonderful, I'll see you tomorrow, and as always, bye bye.
You would have lost that. You would have lost that a long time ago.
You know, Thailand has been popping up in my search feed, homepage, algorithm a lot lately, along with some other places. Now, I don't know if they're trying to send me a message to get out of here, or maybe that they're seeing a lot of people relocate. But my issue with that is you only show people the good. Don't just show me all the good. I want to see the good, don't get me wrong, but show me the good and show me the bad. And also show me the weird and unusual. That's gonna pique my interest a lot more than just the good and the bad. Show me the weird and unusual. Show me all of it. So we're gonna check out this video here, man. This is the 20 strangest things recently discovered in Thailand. Let's check it out.
There are strange things that pop up all over the world, and a lot of them can be explained, while some of them just leave people scratching their heads. Some of those weird things have turned up in Thailand, and today we're going to talk about them. These are the 20 strangest things recently discovered in Thailand. Number 20. The Red Lotus Sea. Now, it may not seem like an odd thing to start off with a body of water, but trust me, this is something you don't see every day. In Thailand, there is a body of water that has a special event that goes on during the cooler months of the year. Specifically, when the temperatures reach the right state, a bunch of red lotus flowers will spring up. That alone would not be all that odd, as we know from other countries that flowers do grow on bodies of water, which include things like river lilies, lily pads, and more. However, what sets this one apart from the rest is that it's not just a couple dozen lotus flowers that pop up, they shoot up in the millions. And technically, they're not even lotus flowers, but water lilies, but you know. At approximately 8 kilometers long and 3 kilometers wide, the freshwater lake is an important water source that sustains a variety of fish, birds, and plants, which includes the red lotus and lilies that you see here. The lake and its flowers are so prominent in the region that they have a legend assigned to them that is basically an epic saga all to itself. It would take too long to describe all of it, but needless to say, there are a lot of people who believe in this tale, and there was even a movie made about it. As you can imagine, this has become both a popular place for the locals and a booming tourist destination during the months that the flowers are in bloom, which, given its location, is between December and February.
How about it, ladies? We take you here? Can we score some serious, points with y'all? We take you here on a date, romantic date or something like that? Huh? We winning after this? We scoring after this? Or no? Y'all not really feeling it, huh? This don't do it for y'all? Like a Valentine's Day type ride? See, I like the simple. It ain't always got to be expensive restaurants where you're paying for almost a $200 steak that don't taste no better than the one you got at home that you can make on the grill. I like this.
You can even hire a boat to take you out on the lake so you can see the flowers up close and personal. No matter how you may feel about them, you have to admit it's quite the sight that certain bodies of water out there in the world would be more desirable to visit if they had something like this going on. Now,
but no gators or nothing in the water. That's my first question. Like, what's living under there? That water is too dark to where I cannot see Nathan. I can't see Nathaniel. What's in there?
It's time for the sweet topic. Has a strange colossal winged creature been found in Thailand? Well, that's what some people online are trying to say. If the image can be trusted, quite the crowd has gathered, and clearly a few people have become interested by it. And if this thing fell out of the sky and in front of me, I would be absolutely fascinated. As always,
fell out of the sky? You mean cast out of heaven? Where did that? How did that just pop up out of? No. See, those are the type of things I hope I never come across. Just out strolling in the woods. Well, I would never be in the woods anyway. You know what I mean? But I don't want to come across nothing like that.
Just let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below by using the hashtag #SweetTopic. Number 19. Human-faced fish. When you're a fisherman, the only weird thing that you want to catch is a fish that isn't as big as it should be. You never want to catch a fish that you don't recognize, as it's likely going to freak you out and make you wonder what else is below you in the water. Surely enough, in 2020, a man was doing some fishing when he had quite the reaction. That reaction was due to how the fish that he had caught was looking at him. You see, he did not recognize the fish, but the fish's face was definitely staring at him, and that made him jump back in terror and almost throw the fish overboard. When you have a look at the fish in question, you can understand why that reaction was warranted. The fish is not only rather ugly, but it's one where you can see the resemblance to human features, especially in its eyes and mouth. The fish weighed 2.7 kilos and it was 42 centimeters long, so it was not the biggest of fish, but it was one of the most jarring things to look at. Even the fishermen didn't want to eat it just to be safe. After giving it to some scientists, they claimed that it was a Polacaris fish, which buries its body and head in the sand, while keeping it...
I mean, look at that fish. Do you blame it? Do you blame them? I wouldn't eat that either. It looked like they found it near Chernobyl or something like that, man, with the little things around the face and the eyes. It looked like it got into some type of chemical and had a reaction.
Its wide mouth open to catch smaller fish and invertebrates that come. So it wasn't exactly cursed, but we bet the fisherman doesn't want to deal with that kind of fish ever again. Number 18. 3 Whales Rock. Easily one of the most common weird things you're going to find going from one country to another are the various kinds of formations that you'll come across. After all, Mother Nature has made some very weird things over the years, and in Thailand, one of the most unusual formations was that of 3 Whales Rock. These are a trio of granite stone formations that have been around for about 75 million years, and they look like whales when seen from the right place, including from above. They're a popular tourist destination, and the local people love talking about the place due to the legends that surround it. Allegedly, once upon a time, there was a village that rested right upon the nearby coastline. That village was constantly visited by a pair of 3 whales who would greet the villagers in various ways, and the villagers were honored by that. They even felt as though the whales were the guardians of the village in certain ways. However, one day, some villagers were greeted by the whales, and one of them accidentally got caught in their nets and was getting injured by it.
Now, I've seen this before, but I don't ever think I've seen this with that huge crack in it. Y'all see that crack in it? I was just about to tell y'all, this is the type of spot you would find me at. Just sitting there reflecting, peaceful, quiet. You know what I mean? You deal with the visitors coming in and out. This would be a place I would go to just find peace for a minute. Until I saw the cracks in it. Like, they need to get down fast. I don't like that now. I don't like it now.
And one of them accidentally got caught in their nets and was getting injured by it. The fishermen eventually cut up the net so the whale could go free, and the 3 whales departed, never to return again. The villagers would name the rocks after them to remind them to be mindful of the waters that they were surrounded by, and to honor the creatures that were within them. Number 17. King Cobra. For the record, it's not exactly weird to find a king cobra in Thailand, as they do reside in that area. However, what I'm talking about is how a massive 4-meter-long cobra was found in a pipe and had to be pulled out by its tail. Now, that's not something you're going to see every day. The footage that you're watching showcases a man who's trying to chase down the cobra, only for that serpent to go into the nearest sewer pipe. The man bravely goes into the pipe to get the snake and eventually pulls it out without getting injured, which is the key thing to be noted here. It's the size, though, which makes this a particularly weird event. As you can see, the man is having to basically climb up the snake by continually pulling it backward so that it can get closer to the snake's head. That's not easy, not to mention that it's dangerous, as this kind of snake will cause you serious harm. Even the rescue people admitted that they had not seen a snake of this size before. And just to let you know how much of a problem it is for the people of Thailand, they regularly have to call the fire department to help get rid of snakes that they often end up finding. Nope.
And for that reason, I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. Don't ask me to go to Thailand. Don't ask me to visit. Why didn't y'all tell me they had this type of issue? And this ain't a small issue. This is no. I don't like snakes, and snakes of that particular kind is at the top of my list to stay away from. A cobra? Yeah. No, bro. You just find one wherever you sleep in, or they just come across them. I'm cool with that. They left that off of the brochure.
Number 16. Buffalo crocodile. Another thing you can count on when it comes to certain nations is that every single one of them has a "what in the world is that creature" story to tell that they'll love to tell to you. After all, things do happen in nature, and it often leaves people baffled and wondering how certain things come to life and are born. In 2015, a farmer in Thailand had that happen when a buffalo gave birth to some calves, and the vast majority of them were fine. However, there was one within the litter that was decidedly not fine. In fact, it didn't look like a buffalo at all. Instead, it kind of looked like a crocodile. As you can see, this is not fake. It's actually a real animal, and people are examining it. You'll also see quite quickly that this calf has a really scaly hide that makes it look like a crocodile instead of a furry buffalo child. Equally as weird, its head is elongated so that when you look at it, you get the image of a crocodile. I don't exactly know what exactly it is that's going on here. However, I can tell you that animals are known to have certain birth defects that can lead to a newborn not exactly looking like it should. Even still, it's a pretty bad look for a young calf, and if not obvious, it was not alive when it was being examined. So clearly something happened to make it both look like that and to pass away so young. Number 15. Airplane graveyard. Have you ever wondered what happens to planes after they're put down for good? You know, because they're replaced or getting a little bit old and it just becomes too costly to do the repairs and maintenance kind of thing? Well, typically they're placed into an airplane graveyard in places like the desert, where they can be used for scrap and not rust over so easily. Yet in Thailand, you're going to find that there are certain planes that are just on the side of the road. They're not put there randomly, for the record. These planes are part of a graveyard on a person's property, and they slowly turn the planes into scrap so that they can sell them for parts. That's a standard procedure kind of thing in this case. However, the truly weird part is that there are actually people living in these planes. They've not been...
Why not? Why wouldn't they? Man, please. The cost of living in certain places, not saying it's like that in Thailand, but imagine that. Imagine that we had like something like that here, where a bunch of planes were abandoned, and you can go in there. Look at the insulation on the side of that. Imagine, man, being able to fix, hey, HGTV, come see me in about a year. I'm going to have this thing hooked up. Y'all ain't going to want to leave. Y'all gonna be like, how he get central heat and air in his airplane? Got it feeling good, smelling good. He got something on the stove. Yes, he got a stove, and I'm telling you, I would have that spot hooked up.
Fully converted into homes, it's simply that some homeless people go into the planes and slowly ship them into houses for themselves. They allegedly have a deal with the property owner to allow this kind of thing to happen, and they even sell parts from the plane when it's possible. But it arguably gets even more weird than that. Due to this being a weird thing to find, there are tourists who will come up to these planes/homes and actually ask for a tour. The denizens allow it for a price, and so the planes are not only their homes, but also a source of income. It's still sad that these people have to resort to such means in order to get a roof over their heads, but props to them for making it work with what they have. Number 14.
Hey, turn it into an Airbnb. Start making money out of it. Get yourself on your feet, get your job, build it up. And once you get you a place, talk it over with the people who own the land, turn it into a Airbnb, split the profits. Passive income coming in. Look at there. Man, please, listen. Lemonade, people. Lemons to lemonade.
Orange Pearl. As noted earlier, one of the key features of Thailand is that it's a bunch of islands, and that means that there are plenty of coastlines to go to for various reasons. One of the reasons for a particular low-income family was to collect shells. One day in 2021, the family, headed up by the father, went to one particular coastline and found a discarded buoy that had numerous shells on it. The children took the shells and gave it to their father, who then started cleaning them and opening them up. And as he did so, he found something that he never expected to see, and that was an orange pearl. Milo pearls are formed by sea snails, known as Milo Milo, and the...
Why my kids can't be this type of blessing? Don't get me wrong, my kids are a blessing. You know what I mean? Why they can't be this type of blessing? That's all I'm saying. Bring me home something like that instead of bringing me home problems. That's what they bring me, problems. Give me that type of problem.
Deposited inside of their shells, unlike traditional pearls which are found in oysters. As you can imagine, the man was a bit surprised by the finding and showed it to his wife and kids so that they could appreciate its clear beauty. Then the next day he went to get it appraised to see if it was worth anything. You have to remember, this was a low-income family, and one that apparently did not have very much at all. After getting it appraised and word spread about the pearl, the value would soon be placed at about 250,000 euros. In fact, the person who wanted to buy it, after verifying it, was from China. They were coming from all over the world to get this pearl. The man who found it said that he would use the money to better his family's lives, which meant that he has his priorities in order. Number 13. Mysterious tree. Now, believe it or not, there are plenty of weird trees in the...
Hold on. I gotta know. 250. Euros. How much? $270,432.50 in the United States. Yeah. Talk about a come up. Yeah, bring me those type of problems, kids. Bring me those. I'll take those problems any day.
The world that defy belief, including some that defy science in ways that cannot be explained just yet. In Thailand, their mysterious tree has to do with a legend that involves the Buddhist god Indra. Very loosely, in an effort to protect his wife, who would go picking fruits in a forest that was inhabited by certain male creatures, he planted Nerafan trees that would create fruit that looked like his wife, so the creatures would take them and leave his wife alone. It gets even more weirder than that, but that's the overview version. Anyway, fast forward to the modern day, and people in Thailand have been so enraptured by that story that they've gone out of their way to create pieces of evidence that prove the trees and the lady-shaped fruits exist. There have been pictures and footage taken of such a tree and fruit, and it's left many to wonder if it's actually real. However, when you dig into things just a little bit more, you're going to see that there's conveniently no other footage or pictures or anything that proves the fruit or trees, and that alone shows that it was a hoax to prey upon those who believed in the story. Number 12. Three-Headed Elephant Museum. Now there's a title I never thought I would say. Bangkok is a very unique place inside of Thailand, and if you talk to people who have only been there for a little while, they're going to tell you that it might be terrible because it's easy to get lost in everything that they have and not get to do everything that you want to do. However, if you go there for yourself and not listen to morons, and you manage not to get distracted, you'll want to go to the Erawan Museum, Bangkok. It's also known as the Three-Headed Elephant Museum. The reason for that is the 50-meter tall elephant statue that's the actual entrance of the museum, and yes, it does have 3 heads. I'm not sure why they decided on a 3-headed elephant being the best way to get people to come to the museum, but it clearly does work. Also, I didn't write this script, so it could have been researched, but you know, I only say the words. Just as important, once you get into the museum, you're going to find yourself surrounded by all kinds of art. That includes intricately crafted staircases, stained glass windows, and more. One of the pieces of stained glass is actually a world map, which is pretty cool. And if you look around a bit, you're going to find even more multi-headed animal statues. Clearly, the museum has a thing for that kind of animal. Oh, and I just took literally 10 seconds to look it up for myself. And the 3-headed elephant in Thai culture is a symbolic figure in Hindu and Buddhist traditions, representing power, harmony, and the interconnectedness of the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. It's often associated with the Hindu god Indra, and it serves as a celestial mount, symbolizing divine authority and protection. It also represents the trinity of creation, preservation, and destruction, as well as the past, present, and future, and the ideal human state of being aware of the physical and spiritual worlds while also taking thoughtful action. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of effort. Number 11. New ant species. Here's a weird fact that doesn't solely apply to Thailand, but to the entire world itself. Ever since we truly began documenting animals of all types, we've wondered just how many species are out there that are left to be discovered. Fast forward to now, and it's been made abundantly clear that we're still nowhere close to knowing every species that exists in the world. Between the land and the sea, there is so much left to be found. Case in point, in 2020 it would be announced that 5 new species of ants were discovered in the world, with some of them being in Thailand and the others from Borneo and Malaysia. The important thing to note here is that they weren't only found, they were found after a potentially long period of life without anyone having ever noticed them. Our world is truly full of life and we should all be grateful for that, but it's going to take a long time for any of us to come together and chronicle every single life form that exists on planet Earth. Thankfully, some are up to that challenge. Number 10. The Sanctuary of Truth. Believe it or not, despite how incredible and beautiful the Sanctuary of Truth is, it's actually an unfinished building. You see, it was designed by someone who wanted to fuse the design of philosophy.
Look at the detail. That's the first thing that caught my mind. And then they have the nerve to say they're not even finished. It's not even finished. What more did you want to add to this? Now this would be definitely, if they ain't have the Cobras, I would definitely make this stop on my list of places to go. Seriously.
Fees of things like temples and castles, not to mention Hindu and Buddhist beliefs, in order to create something that would truly stand out. On one hand, he succeeded, but on the other, well, it's not quite done yet. Just as weird as it is that the place is made entirely out of several kinds of wood, and that includes not only the building itself, but also the sculptures that are inside of it. The good news is that despite its unfinished state, you can actually go and visit it. Number 9. Giant Snake Rock. In a place called Naka Cave is a large rock formation that many have likened to a snake. They did this for 2 reasons. First, when you look at the head of the rock, you can very easily tell it's something that is very snake-like in shape. You can see easily the mouth and eyes and the scaling of the rock. And then, when you get inside the cave, you'll soon see its scaly body that makes it seem as though someone had carved out the individual scales to make it look like snakeskin. So then, what's going on here? It's hard to actually say. It could be an ancient sculpture, or it could be something that nature came up with over many years. Only deeper research is going to provide those answers.
Probably open that thing up and see one of the biggest snake dens you've ever seen in the world. All different types of snakes. Like, like being on Snake Island or something. Y'all heard of Snake Island before, right? I think I've shown that on this channel before, but that's probably what that thing is housing. Probably one of the biggest snake dens ever.
Number 8. Robot building. Thankfully, this building is not one that's run by robots. It's just one that happens to look like a robot, and for a rather simplistic reason. For that reason, we have to go to Bangkok in the late 1970s. The Bank of Asia wanted to create a brand new headquarters for itself and desired a look that would showcase how computers were helping to revolutionize the banking trade. They then hired an architect to do the design, but he could not come up with something that fit the theme that they were going for. That is, until his son came into the room with a toy robot, and the rest, as they say, is history. You may be thinking that the Thailand bankers would not have been up for something like that, but they loved it, and by 1987, the robot building had been created. It used to be one of the tallest buildings in Bangkok, and even now it's still praised for its design. Number 7. Rare tigers. There are many species of animal in the world that are either endangered or close to extinction, and there are many big cats on that list. In 2017, the Indo-Chinese tiger was one such creature that was on the brink of extinction, and that's why many people in Thailand and beyond were trying to come together to figure out where to find more that may have been hidden, and then attempt to breed the population. This is where the weird part comes in, because they were found in a national park. The answer was right under their noses the entire time. With this new population, efforts rekindled to try and save it. Hopefully, things have improved since then, because the loss of a single species can actually cause harm to our planet and the ecosystem, something that we should never forget, and all hope that such lucky breaks won't be needed in the future. Number 6. Glowing mushrooms. Mushrooms are something that can be found almost all over the world, and they are something that both people and animals just love to eat. You know, so long as they're not the poisonous kind. However, even now we're still finding new versions of mushrooms, including ones that glow in the dark. This happened in Thailand in
I don't know, I'm gonna go out on a limb and probably say, the glowing ones we probably shouldn't eat. I don't know why I feel like I have to say that, but some people, you know, I question y'all these days. Your decision making and your survival skills. So don't eat those, okay? Even if they tell you eat them, don't eat them.
2011 within a certain forest, and the reason that it's so interesting is that it's not something you're going to think about. Bioluminescence is a special thing in our world, as only certain plants and animals can actually do it. Yet, here were some mushrooms that were glowing on the trees. The question now becomes, well, why? There is typically a purpose to this kind of thing, and hopefully we'll be able to get more answers on it soon, or possibly even learn what other plants can do this so-called trick.
I don't know, that also makes me think about the movie Black Panther and how they had that, what was that called? That they were using to regain health, or using it for the technology and everything like that, and they didn't want people to know about it because they would show up and try to, yeah, that kind of reminds me of that a little bit. So I don't know. I might I still say don't eat it though. Don't eat it.
Number 5. Giant skeleton. Here's one from Thailand that makes the rounds on the internet every once in a while, and it's something that not anyone should be fooled by. If you take a look at the picture, you'll be able to infer that this is a human skeleton that is allegedly getting attacked by a giant serpent. What the internet's going to tell you is that this was a giant skeleton found alongside an equally large snake. But here's the thing, it is not a real skeleton, neither of them are. They aren't CGI or AI or anything like that. They were actually created for an art exhibit. Yes, really, the people of Thailand decided they wanted to glamour up some of their caves, and so they made this 2-part skeleton for an art exhibition. You have to remember the golden rule, don't believe everything that you see on the internet. Number 4. Rare whale skeleton. Getting back to reality, we'll now talk about a very real finding that was made back in 2020. Specifically, there was a whale skeleton that was discovered that was not only perfectly preserved, but was said to have belonged to a whale species that existed over 5,000 years ago. The fossil itself was rather large, about 12 meters in size, and many would note that it was a rare finding simply because these kind of whale bones are not found in Asia for some kind of reason. The scientists believe that it could be a window to the past, showing what life was like when it was actually alive. Number 3. Cave creatures. You could probably guess where this one's going before I even break it down. In Thailand in 2018, a video began circulating on the internet that appeared to showcase some really odd cave creatures, scaring tourists who noticed them on a private island in the area. Naturally, the video went viral, as people wanted to know what was going on and what in the world they were looking at. Some even said that they were a kind of Ewok, because everybody loves the Ewoks, except for me. I'm
glad they keep showing this video. That way people aren't alarmed when they come across it when they visited over there. Because I remember when this first hit the internet, it looked crazy, by the way. It looked crazy, but now that everybody knows what this is, you won't be so alarmed. And I think that was vibranium. Like when I was talking about Black Panther, that was another thing that popped in my brain too. Yeah, I think that was vibranium.
Think they're an abomination. Anyways, as it would turn out, the video wasn't only a hoax, it was an art project that was done for an event that depicted certain trolls from Thailand's mythological past. Clearly, they were good enough to fool people, but then again, people are easily fooled now, aren't they? Number 2. A cave rescue. This one's not so much a weird thing as it was a harrowing experience for those who were involved and the world who watched the incident with bated breath. In 2018, a group of young soccer players went into a cave and then got trapped in there by the sudden rushing of water. They were trapped in there for 9 days as people on the outside had tried to get them with little success. When the divers finally did reach them and found that they were mostly okay, outside of being starved, the families and the people watching were thrilled. Eventually they were all rescued and the world then rejoiced. Number 1. Cave paintings. Now, I didn't intend to end this video with so much cave stuff, but, you know, that's the way it goes sometimes. In western Thailand, a cave was documented to have cave drawings inside of it from about 3,000 years ago. As I've noted many times on the Fancy Banana, these kind of cave paintings are a key window into history and the peoples that lived in the past periods. By seeing things through their own eyes and through their drawings, we can learn more about them. In the paintings are drawn a number of human-like figures, some with accessories on their bodies, while others appear to hunt animals with a bow and arrow. The fact that they survived for so long is actually incredible, and many will fight to preserve the cave drawings so that people can learn more about them in the future and possibly see if there are more like them nearby. Well, that's about all from Thailand and the many recent discoveries that have helped to prove that it's a weird place, whether its citizens want to admit it or not.
You're right. He must have said something for me to be mad at him. They must be very, very sour. Bang. Bang, bada, bang, bang. Bang, bang.
The terrifying moment in Serbia that Joe Rogan did.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you.
What is it? Hold on. This shit is going on still. These mad things. Oh yeah.
I couldn't afford just a little bit more on the budget. What's good, YouTube? Today we're going to be looking at hilarious ripoffs of popular movies. I didn't know popular movies could have ripoffs. I would assume they would get like some sort of copyright. We're going to see how terrible these ripoffs could possibly be. Without further ado, let's get started.
You know what they say, every masterpiece has its cheap copy.
Yup.
Nowhere is this more prevalent than in the movie business.
Okay.
From such classics as Triassic World.
What was that terrible CGI? No, this definitely was made on CapCut. This dinosaur doesn't even look like he should be here.
To the profoundly moving, the amazing Bulk.
Okay, that boo-fast edit is one thing. Running in the same place is actually atrocious. Why are you moving like that?
The amazing Bulk.
Okay.
Get ready for a wild ride as we look at some of the most hilarious movie ripoffs ever.
Let's get it.
Metal Iron Hero Man.
You couldn't have just called it Metal Man? Metal Man didn't sound good to y'all? Really think about it. If we're gonna make a movie, you need a production team, you need a camera crew, you need mics up. You guys actually went together and you're like, hear me out, y'all. If they liked Iron Man, Metal Iron Hero Man. Did you genuinely think this was gonna be popular? Let me hear it.
In 2008, Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man flew into theaters, and movies would never be the same. The movie follows Kyle Finn, a young man who puts on an experimental suit.
Is this like a horror version of this shit? Why does this does this not look like a villain? I'm sorry, I feel like this is some shit like you go against for like the final round or some shit. This does not look like the hero. I don't expect someone that looks like this to save me.
Suit of armor and gets stuck inside. He uses the power the suit gives him to... Wait, hold on. That's not Iron Man. It's Metal Man. Released in the same year as Iron Man, Metal Man, sometimes known as Iron Hero, is a mockbuster. Mockbusters are low-budget rip-off movies released on DVD around the same time as their inspiration.
But why though? What's the whole point in this? Do y'all think these are supposed to be funny, or do y'all think they genuinely try to make it so that they're acting good? So this gotta be like the Dhar Mann before there was Dhar Mann, because there's no way you guys actually thought that this would hit.
The aim, to confuse someone's grandma into buying it for their grandkid instead of the real deal. Only this is what they find.
What the fuck is that supposed to be? Is that supposed to be aura? Is this supposed to be a shield? What's going on here? Bro, I'm telling you, these are just iMovie ass presets, bro.
That was quite possibly the lamest takedown I've ever seen. Not to mention that awful suit. It looks more like a rubber monster from 90s Power Rangers shows than a mechanical marvel. Heck, at least Power Rangers had great fight choreography.
It did.
This, not so much.
They're walking to each other. Like, I don't even think they want to hit each other. Did y'all repeat 5 angles of some weak ass cake? No, this is $2 CGI. The budget for this movie had to be $20. There's no way. 8 replays for that weak ass cake. Were we supposed to be like, huh?
Yeesh.
And what is that Minecraft hit sound effect?
Production company behind this disaster, Summerhill Films, is a name you'll definitely hear again before this video is over. It's no stranger to schlock like this. After I struggled my way through, I took to IMDb to see how others fared. This guy put it best when he warned, do not operate heavy machinery after watching this movie. Side effects may include drowsiness, lack of focus, drooling, loss of faith in humanity, and rectal leakage.
How terrible does a movie have to be for your ass to feel like you got a diarrhea, bro? 24 out of 25 people found this helpful. I swear to God, yo, let anyone have a side effect of losing their faith in humanity after watching my movie, you will never see me in show business again, bro. I would personally be asked to be taken away from like the credit scene of this movie.
Ugh. I couldn't have said it better myself. If you're enjoying watching me suffer for... all finished? Great. Let's take a deep breath. And dive back into more ridiculous ripoffs.
What's next?
An Optimus Crime.
No, that's genuinely what this is. You know what? At least your title reflects what you guys are doing. This shit should be criminal. Someone should be arrested for this. This looks like the monster off of Shark Boy and Fire Girl. This looks like that teacher that turned into that cyborg. There's no way you guys have enough money to turn cars into robots.
If you had to guess which movie 2007's Transmorphers was ripping off, I'm sure you'd say Transformers. And you'd be right, partly. It was totally designed to rip off the blockbuster, but in name only. You see, this one actually rips off Terminator's dystopian future more than the battle between Autobots and Decepticons.
Okay.
What a twist. The movie
Yeah, because I highly doubt they have enough money to do that.
follows a group of beautiful survivors in leather jackets planning to take back Earth from its mechanical conquerors. They sit around underground jackets planning to take back Earth from its mechanical conqueror.
Y'all are playing with me, bro. You stole this clip for some PS2 video game. There's no way this is real.
They sit around underground, bickering with each other for most of the runtime, and sometimes, if you're really lucky, you get to see some giant robot action.
I'm sorry. What was that supposed to be? This nigga just spread dookie. You telling me there's not shit coming out of the robot? Am I tripping? That does not look like a missile at all.
Gino looks...
Yes, the special effects are laughable, like something ripped straight from a bad PS3 game.
Literally.
Now I understand why they're so reluctant to give us good looks at the robots. So, who's responsible for this travesty? The answer is the Asylum, probably the single most notorious purveyor of mockbusters in the
100 million BC, War of the Worlds, and what is this called? Doomsday Meteor. Wow, like bro, why don't you just actually try to make a movie without trying to copy someone else? You ever thought of that?
I mean, one look at their website and you get a good idea of the breadth and quality of their back catalog. Who else loved 2020's Top Gunner? But Transmorpher's biggest...
It is like a rip-off of everything like people did before. It's like... I remember it... Oh. You know, the...
His name is John C. His name is John C.
Somebody just surrendering. That's crazy. Gave up. Hey, but they're athletic, man. What's going on?
I don't understand. Are they tasting the food and then they'll come back for the main dish, or it be in this?
You don't know. You don't know why it's going
So what you go call this one? A cup of jollof or what? I don't understand. Hey, Chese, I cry here, dear. You people, you are using branding to package the Pepe lifestyle in a way that people are not even noticing.
I'm telling you.
So me, I'll spend money to buy shada. Hey. Then I go come your event. Then you serve me a cup of jollof.
Look at my face.
Bro, see, the fact say we say Accra stay by plan. No, they mean say you people go they do by heart for year. This one like this, if they do one for some place like Choco or maybe Techi or somebody go tell you say the person no get money.
I'm telling you.
But as them serve for AC inside Nadia, it be lifestyle.
I've seen dogs, you know, chihuahuas, being given just little food. Their reaction is just, it's a stare.
Is this a test? Is this a test? Am I allowed to come back again? Like, yeah. Crazy though.
But I get it, man. Like,
yo, in cups, bro.
Oh my god, that's brilliant. Anyway, guys, we're gonna head to my mother's land, Accra in Ghana now. We got Kobe with us. How you doing, bro?
Wow. Kobe, it was so funny. I could see you sat there. Even when we were showing that clip, I could see you sat there smirking and like smiling along.
Kobe, the way you've described Chelsea is you've literally described Liv to a T.
I think I'm really sensitive and really emotional. And I know that if Chelsea lose against Spurs on Monday, my whole week is ruined.
No, shooting the video in the first place, I was thinking about how people were going to feel.
It starts from Monday, man.
Hey, good luck again. Chelsea, you're hoping. It's a good team now. It's a different team. But Chelsea,
I fox, but not that much, to be very honest. I wanted to get some Jolo as well.
Because the meat.
Should I blame for it?
I can't blame my, you know what I'm saying? Wait to the soft.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll bring it.
No, it's a beauty in my.
Oh, that's what. No, okay. Maybe,
that's what I'm saying. You can bring
maybe,
that, but the taste will. Oh, that shit is fine.
I would say maybe
each and every fucking time. Each and every time. Like get the wonder that every time I was like, at least okay.
You know, last time I saw people were opening up fishes. And, you know, inside fishes there is this orange like egg like, you know what I mean, a substance. I don't know what that is called, but that stuff, eating it, bro. I'll cook it. Whoever can cook it, man, it's different. It has a very totally different taste than the fish itself. But I don't know from what. Probably salmon. But we were opening up and then removing all the eggs. Then you had like, oh, this is dope. I think I need to show. But yeah, I gotta go downstairs and get some stuff. Ulitoka? Yeah. Nasema ulitoka. Takuja. Iko mzee mnameni. Ulitoka.
The Panadi mystery. The tribe was here big enough to use as blankets. What? Is big to use as blanket. What are you? IGN.